let's go for Gen 2s. Now the Gen 2s, here's we're gonna get spicy, because Gen 2s you cannot buy. You can only craft them yourself, and some of them start with the collections. Let's start with the ones with the collections, because they are the most badass. Astelaria, dude, absolute S tier weapon. Not only it looks badass as fuck, and actually I'm probably gonna get it soon. Not only does it look badass as fuck, look at those, look at that, dude. Look at that weapon. It looks so good. It looks so good. It has this trail with a nightly sky, because it's a weapon that you make in instant, making a very long quest line about, you know, in a place called the Astrolarium, where you watch the stars. Everything's made, everything in that place is made to look at the stars. So this weapon kind of symbolizes that, you know, like the little thingy here. It's kind of like an instrument to measure maps and sky and stuff. I don't really actually know what it is for, but it's here, right? It's pretty badass. It has these little mechanisms inside of the weapon, of course, as well. Look at that. I forget the name of this instrument, but there you go. There it is. It's just a very, very cool thing, right? And it's a long questline that you have to, and you learn a lot of about the Astrolarium while you're doing this. You get the astral weapons as well, which are kind of very similar to them. You know, these ones that are also very cool, and the stellar weapons that I haven't done, honestly, but I will. You know, very, very cool weapons as well. And you end up having this one at the end. It's very, very cool. You have to craft it yourself. So it's very cool. I don't know, it's probably one of the best ones. Like, what else do you want? Like, this is like perfect, and it's very, very, very original too. So S tier, 100%. Chumpa and Chunkawat, also very cool legendary. You also have to do you also have to do a collection for it, racing this little this little tigers that, in order to infuse your shortbow. Is a very badass looking shortbow. It almost looks like a fucking longbow, and you have these little tigers, Chupa and Chankawat, right? Chuka and Champawat, one in each of the sides. The whole collection leads you to like race these little two tigers. I don't actually have done it, but I've heard it's very, very cool collection, and it just looks badass, right? The projectiles also look very cool. You know, you shooting the little tigers, so it's a very, very cool legendary. I really, really like it. Yeah, look at this projectiles, dude. Look at the tiger. Apparently, I thought the name of the tigers was Chuka and Champawat, but apparently it's Nola, Halcor, and the Brill. Because when you use the weapon, when you get the weapon, it says, thanks to the bond with you, someday Nola, Halcor, and Brill will be magnificent tigers, facing the world with dignity and wisdom. For now, their paws are far too big for them. Oh, very cute. But it's a very cool weapon. It has some meaning behind it, and not all legendaries have that. So I think it definitely has to go to S tier just because of that. Now, is it more than Astrolaria? For me, I think Astrolaria looks a bit better, and also the promise that shortbows, they're not that much used in many builds, so I think the X will have to go at the top. What else do we have with oh, Nevermore. I really, really, really like Nevermore. Now, I understand some people don't think it's that good because it's not that impressive in terms of how it looks, but I think having a weapon that is just kind of simplistic, but while also looking pretty good, I think it's okay. You have the little raven that comes, like it is here with you, right beside you, and then it flies into you, you know, like, whoa, it flies into the staff and infuses the staff with its power. I think it's very, very cool, and it also has a collection too. Speaking of how you infuse it and everything, then the raven and everything, which is pretty badass, right? I think for that reason it has to go on S tier. Now, is it more than Eternity? I think it lacks a little bit of you know, a little shininess in order to be better than Eternity. So I think I'll put it here, like in the same level, but it's a very, very cool weapon, right? A very, very cool weapon. Now, Hope, where's Hope? I know that one also has a collection. Yeah, Hope, there we go. I think S tier, I don't really like Hope. I don't like how it looks, but it has a collection. I never done it. But I think because of the fact that it has a collection for it, I think it has to go to the top 100%. Not because I don't like it, doesn't mean that, and I don't like the projectiles it has and the sound it has. that doesn't mean that it's not a good weapon, and it didn't have a lot of effort into it, and people love it, honestly. So I kind of have to put it in S tier because of what it signifies to most people. Now, for me, honestly, it just I would get it anyways because, as I said, it has a, a collection. But I think I would put it, honestly, for me, it would be like high B tier. Just because of the collection, but because of the fact that I understand what people think about this one and really like it and it's very meaningful to them, I'll put it on S tier as a thing that maybe I just don't have the taste for. Right now, all of these other Gen 2s are essentially weapons that only are made out of with no collections. Only you just have to craft them yourself by completing the map and then crafting it. Right? Let's talk about the last one and the worst one. The worst legendary in the game, Gw2 of Connor. Now, Gw2 of Connor could be the best one. It's about the Connor, the leader of the char. It's pretty badass. It should be pretty badass. But Gw2 of the Connor, there we go. So as you see, the little infusion you get, it's pretty badass, right? Pretty cool. It has also infused those little like gems, representing probably the legions, if I were to guess. And when you use it, you have this little like very cool. Very cool infusion on yourself. But the problem is it doesn't have any trails whatsoever. It doesn't look that cool. It just kind of it's just a weapon, right, with some some gems on it. Is it really that badass? Not really. I don't think so. And because of that and the significance behind the weapon, that you should it should be better, right? It should have a very big it should have this very cool trail. It should be very badass, but it just ends up being just okay. Now it does have these little things that when you draw, the spirits will show out of the char, which is pretty badass, right? That's pretty cool. And of course it also has a projectile effect for some reason, but not the normal one, which is kind of dumb. Wait, what is this? Close constellations in the close up of the constellations in the footfalls. Oh, okay. So whenever you walk, you'll be able to see you have this trail on the foot, which is on the feet, which is pretty cool. But it's just not that cool, right? It just doesn't have anything cool. Well, landing a critical hit with Gw2 General will briefly display 2 yellow lines in the target, similar to the ones that appear on the eyes of the first Connor when the weapon is drawn, which that's pretty cool. But yeah, it only works as a projectile. Which is kind of weird, honestly. I don't think it's good. So it has to go to D-tier. A lot of good effort put into them, but just not enough. A lot of wasted potential. Not good. Eureka. I really like Eureka. I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I think it's just a cool mace, honestly. Because it's a Gen 2, I think it's... Sure, it only has the it looks cool factor. But it looks very cool. Like, look at this, guys. That's pretty badass, right? That's pretty badass. The trail is pretty cool as well. Oh, that little drawn effect as well. Like, you can't really why doesn't it show the trail? It is pretty cool, the trail, when you use it. I can get it here. And it only has the cool effect on it, but because it's a Gen 2 and you cannot rebuy it, that also makes it look it just goes out in it just goes to the top of the tier list just because of that, right? Weapon trail, there we go. There you can see the weapon trail. Very cool weapon trail, right? Very cool weapon trail. I don't know why it doesn't show sometimes, but it's very cool, right? So I think A tier is the way it should go. Probably with Juggernaut that good, so it just looks cool, right? Probably higher because it doesn't have but it's not that of an impressive design overall. So I think like that, it's okay. Exordium, one of absolute great weapon, one a great design. It also changes. I can actually show it because I have that weapon. It also changes depending on it changes between an axe and a spear and stuff like that, depending on the ability you're making. So for example, here it just looks like a weapon, right? I unsheath it. Looks pretty cool, right? And when I walk, I have this little foot thingies. But whenever I do this, it becomes a little bit of an axe, right? When I throw it, well, I guess it only becomes a it's just a sword there. Whenever I do this, it's just a sword as well, right? It's very cool. It's a very cool weapon. It moves and changes depending on the weapon. I mean, but depending on the character you are and the ability you are, the profession you are, right? As a mesmer, it becomes a little bit of a laser beam, which is pretty cool. So I think because of that and all the things that those things all those different animation it has. It just has to go full S tier. Now, yeah, probably with Eternity, those are they're so good, right? It doesn't have a collection, which is pretty sad, but what are you gonna do? The Flames of War. I like the Flames of War. I like how it looks. I understand that many people don't like it, and honestly, I really like the draw effect. I think it's cool. I like the way the weapon looks, and I like the foot trails. But sadly, it doesn't really have a projectile. I mean, it doesn't really have any trails on anything. So I think it just doesn't look that good. I think it's better than Rodgord. It also is a Gen 2, but it's just not. It could be better. I think at this point, considering this one also doesn't look that good, you should just go for a Gen 3, right? A Gen 3 torch. Arene, I forget the name. Yeah, I mean, that does, like, this one looks better. It has a trail as well. Look at that trail, and it changes, and you can change to other variants to change the color and the effect, right? So I think I mean, there's no reason to do any of them, honestly. I think it has to go to, like, I don't think C tier, but I think B tier is like with Rodgord. Yeah, it's just like, I mean, it's okay, I guess, but nah, and he doesn't even have a collection. Not good. Pharos, I really do like Pharos. I think it has to go here, right? It's a Gen 2, so you can only craft it, you cannot buy it. It's not that badass, but it is pretty badass, right? It's not like insanely like, oh, the best weapon ever, the best longbow ever. But it's really cool as the fact that you can use, like, it's a light bow, right? And whenever you shoot, you can really see, oh, look at that, draw effect. And of course, the arrows are gonna be lightning, which is pretty badass, right? I think it's pretty cool. It's not that impressive, like, it's not really that creative or anything. It's just, you know, it's just a light bow, right? But it is a cool weapon. I think it's good, and because if it's a Gen 2 and you cannot buy it, it surpasses these other ones, even though it's not as creative as the Metallurgicus, of course. I probably put it here because Eureka is here. I think it has the same problem with the Eureka. It's okay. It's not that badass though. Sharor. Now Sharor, it's a cool weapon. It's a cool weapon. It's two weapons in one, right? It's one way at night, one way in the day, right? It looks uncorrupted because it's a weapon that came out of ore, uncorrupted on the day, corrupted at night. Look at all those little things coming out, getting into your arms as well. Very cool, but it doesn't really have I mean, the draw effect is pretty cool, but it doesn't really have any trails, which I think is a very important part of a legendary, right? So I think because of that, I think it just becomes, it could be S tier if it had a trail. Because of that, I think it has to be at A tier, like low to A tier. It had a trail, it just be oof, very good. And honestly, you never go to night as well. It's almost everything in the game is almost every time day. So I think it's just not that good. I mean, it's okay. It's a cool concept as well, but I think Juggernaut honestly looks better, right? Shishadu, what a fucking great weapon. I mean, honestly, I think I'll do it for the meme. I never wear it because it's kind of a dumb, one. Shishadu. It's kind of like a goofy one, and I want to be badass, right? But honestly, like, what a great concept. Look at it. It's this little, like, Quaggan living up with you in the little shield and protecting you, and sometimes it comes out alone. It's very cool, very cute, and even all Gen 2s, honestly, they, whenever you're crafting one of the Gen 2s, you're kind of making your weapon from, like, scratch, like, and progressing it, right? And whenever you're doing this Shishadu, the Quaggan is very small when you start, and then it start getting bigger, right? Which is very cute. You kind of, like, even though it doesn't have a collection, you are kind of raising him while creating the weapon, which is pretty badass and pretty cute. So I think it definitely deserves an S tier for me. It's a very what is the word? Very cool weapon, very much very creative too. Like, who would have thought of this? I know that really good with that. HMS Divinity. I actually like the HMS Divinity more than I like the Predator. I think it's cool. I think it's a what is the word? It's a ship. It's a ship that shoots little cannons out of the rifle, right? It looks like a ship. It is a ship, It has this little like mist infusion in it, particle effect, and the Predators are really big balls. And I like the sound effect as 2 because it's kind of like this big, like if you were using a fucking ship and shooting out with your cannons. I think it's very cool concept, and I like it very much. I understand a lot of people don't like it, but I personally like it very much. So it's gonna be A tier from me. Now, where would I put it? Like here, right? That's where I would put it. Bigger than Gw2 because it's Gen 2 with Pharaohs and everything. It just looks cool. That's all there it is to it. It's a cool concept too. It's a cool concept too. And it's a good idea, and I think they executed pretty well. I like it. Binding of Hippos, what an absolute great legendary. It looks great. It looks very cool, very warlocky. Look at that. You have this little like hand, you know, using the Necronomicon, right? You know, reading the spells you're gonna make in order to obliterate your enemy. The eye in the book, it's just like one of the best legendaries I've ever seen. It looks so cool. It's absolutely great for any, like, it's one of the best focuses ever, right? It's just very cool. What else do I have to say? It's badass. I'm sad I doesn't have a collection. We could have learned who made this book, right? You know, getting me out of him or something. You know, maybe who had to defeat a lich in order to get him, in order to get the book or something. It's just really very cool. Maybe when we're reading the book, a few enemies come out and you have to fight them. It's, I don't know. It's just very kind of a wasted opportunity, but still. S tier nonetheless. Bergerac, what a great weapon. I really do like it. I really do like Bergerac. It's kind of like my warhorn that I would use. It's just very badass, the way you're using a fucking big trombone, right? In order to fight your enemies. Bergerac. Wait, there we go. Bergerac. And it's kind of like, oh, ghostly, right? It is some, like, it is very, like, look at that. Look at how you draw it, right? Like, it becomes physical, right? It's kind of like, I don't know what the lore behind this is, but look at that. It just, oh, it's kind of like ghostly, and then it grows. Very badass, and those little like spirits come out, right? It's kind of like a warhorn that, you know, like calls ghosts to go fight with you, kind of like in the Lord of the Rings, when you're like, you know, all the ghosts follow Aragorn to fight the orcs and everything. It's kind of like that, right? It's very badass. Very cool effects. I think it's just a great weapon, honestly. It's a very cool weapon. Look at that beautiful, look at that also, like that good design inside of the horn. It's just absolutely great weapon. I really like it. Shining Blade, I think the Shining Blade is good. Honestly, I would put it an A tier. It has the same problem. I think it could have been so much better. But the problem is that even though it looks very good, it looks very cool, and it has some lore behind it for sure. It has a lot of lore behind it. The problem is that none of the lore is linked in the weapon, right? It's all in the story. If this would have had a collection talking about the weapon and how it's linked to the Shining Blade and everything, it would have been so cool. But because it doesn't really have that, it is kind of a wasted opportunity. Otherwise, I would put it an S, honestly, because it looks very cool. You know, it's just not enough for me. I just don't think. I think it's just a wasted opportunity. It's kind of like the same thing with Flame Secret Prophecies. Although it does have a collection, all the lore out of that, it's kind of like outside of the collection itself of it, right? It's kind of like in Guild Wars 1 or in the story. So it just kind of feels bad that you don't really have that, right? And Gw2, what a great weapon as well. It looks very cool. It's honestly, if it weren't from the Gen 3 scepter, I would have only done this one, right? But it's a cool weapon, right? It's kind of like very Aztec, how is it? Aztec kind of weapon, right? It's very badass, and the way that the little guy follows you around, the little serpent for god thingy. Gw2, of course, follows you around. It is very badass. It's a very badass weapon. I really do like it. Having Banner of Hippos and Gw2 in the other hand, like one in each hand, it just makes you look so badass. I think it's a great weapon, and I'm hopefully one of these days I get it, right? Like having both of them at the same time. It just, oh, what a great way. Now where would I put that? I probably with Banner of Hippos. Probably better than. Shushadu, yeah, Shushadu probably should go down here, and then yeah, that's good. And for the last ones, which I don't have here, but I'm just gonna pretend I do, Gen 3s, it will probably go between Eternity and Choka. I think all the Gen 3s look very good, and the fact that, sure, the Gen 3s, you can just buy them, the arena ones, and that one I would put here in A tier, but the variants, you have to do the collection, and each of the dragons have one collection specifically to them. And you have all the weapons, you know, the torches, the greatswords, the swords, everything for Gen 3s, and all of them have very unique designs. And also you have the version for the for each of the dragons, which it makes very cool and significant. And it's just every weapon of those have a collection as well, which is very cool. So I think it definitely would go here in between Eternity and Chuka. They look very cool. I already have some of them, right? I have the Saitan one, the Arena one, and I'm almost done with the Mordemoth one. Look at that, it's pretty cool, right? Pretty cool weapon, and it's one version from each of the other weapons, right? Pretty cool. And of course we also have the Saitan one that I also possess, which imbues the same weapon with the power of Saitan, right? Another trail, very cool, right? Very cool. So I think it's probably one of the best decisions that that ANET had done to put that in the game. I really like it, and I'm proud, and I'm happy that it is in the game. But yeah, that's all of it. All the legendaries and why they're good, why they're bad. And well, you can go in and comment why I'm wrong in every of the opinions, on why I'm obviously right and I'm based all the time. Have a great one, guys, around. I will continue doing these videos, and more tier lists, more videos for metas, guides, stuff like that. So have a good one, guys. See you around. Love you all. Bye bye.